Happy New Year! Welcome to 2025 and my first video of the new year and my last video talking about last year. WWE had some really great matches in 2024. Which ones did I like? Well, these are my picks for the top 10 WWE matches of 2024. Welcome to Silo Voice Wrestling on YouTube and the Silo Voice Wrestling podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jason C. McLean. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications to get all my wrestling hot takes, cold takes, simmering takes, wrestling opinion pieces, assorted thoughts on Raw and SmackDown, and WWE Premium Live Event prediction videos, and of course, reviews. That's all my regular content that I sort of put on hold for the holidays. It's going to resume again. In the holidays, I did one video, top best of WWE 2024, everything except the matches, best feud, best heel turn, best promo, best crowd, all that stuff. You can check out that video. And this is my top 10 matches of 2024. Now, I'm kind of glad I waited until the new year to start filming because I don't know if it's like this in the States. It might probably just Raw, whatever. But in Canada, the UK, on Netflix, they now have the Raw Vault with every single episode of Raw, SmackDown Vault, all the old PLEs. So I was able to go back and some of the matches I wanted to include, was able to re-watch it, get it fresh in my mind, and it helped, color my ranking. So I'm very happy with my ranking now. Of course, I'm only looking at main roster content. It's not that I don't like NXT. I've just not watched enough of it to be able to pick top 10 matches. So it's Raw, SmackDown, and the Premium Live events, and Saturday night's main event. Main roster content. So what are my and for these matches, I'm also looking at yes, of course, in-ring is obviously the most important part because this is the actual matches, but I'm also taking into account not just the in-ring work, the in-ring storytelling, crowd reaction, but also the sort of story that led into this match. Although my first one had a lot of backstory, or my number 10 had a lot of backstory, but didn't really have much story going into the match. So let's get started. Number 10, Bianca Belair versus Io Sky on the September 16th Raw. Now, if I did a top 10 matches last year, I'm sure that Bianca Belair versus Io Sky at Backlash in Puerto Rico definitely would have made the cut. And this was a rematch from that match. And these two do have, Bianca and Damage Control have a lot of history, and she has the history with Io. But the only recent history that led to this match was the fact that now babyface Damage Control were trying to win the tag titles from Bianca and Jade, and it didn't happen. So there was a singles match. It was supposed to be Kairi Sane, and at the last minute, Kairi had like an injured eye or something like that. So Io took her place. The match was literally formed out of nowhere on that episode of Raw, and I don't even think it was the main event that night. No, it wasn't the main event that night. I checked. It was an amazing match. It was a really high quality match. The rematch from Backlash was excellent. Reminded us just how high caliber both these women are. A lot of excitement. We had Bianca lifting up Io. We had Io doing some aerial stuff. They went outside of the ring. No one cheated. It was just hard fighting. It ended with a KOD into a roll-up, and Io won. She won the rematch. It was really exciting, really fun. I'm glad I watched it, and it just happened on a random episode of Raw, so it's definitely noteworthy. It's definitely my number 10. Number 9, Damian Priest defending the World Heavyweight Championship against Drew McIntyre at Clash at the Castle. Or part 2 in the trilogy of matches where CM Punk screws Drew McIntyre out of the World Heavyweight Championship. The first was when Drew actually beat Seth Rollins at WrestleMania, and then Punk caused Priest to cash in. That was a good match, but I mean, the thing is, the match itself between Drew and Seth was good, but wasn't the greatest match even between them. And the ending was fantastic, but I have to go for the whole match. And the third one had that major botch in it where Priest didn't kick out when he was supposed to. I don't know. This one, yes, it did have a sort of a botch in it, but actually Priest got caught in the ropes, and he covered it amazingly. He actually sold that injury, which was probably legit, and managed to finish the match. He was very impressive, and Drew was very impressive in this match, and it had so much stakes because it was Glasgow, Scotland. It was this time really in Drew McIntyre's backyard, unlike Wales, which is a whole different country, but whatever, it's WWE. That's how they see the world. The way Punk came in at the end with the referee, as the referee, and they didn't even show his face on camera. You didn't even know it was him until he counts 2 and stops. That was really well done. The whole match was really well done. This progressed that story excellently, and Priest fought through injury to make to basically really show his skills, and Drew and Punk. That story was great. Excellent match. Number 8, the King of the Ring finals between Gunther and Randy Orton at King and Queen of the Ring. Now, this match excelled at big match feel. See it right from the start. Throughout, there's like a slow build. Then it gets really exciting. Like Orton's selling where he should be injured. Gunther's taking advantage. It's very, very tough, very one-on-one violence, but it's exactly what you want from a match like this. Now, I'm aware that this is the first of their 2 encounters, and the second one, there was actually, they tried to put a bit more story on it. Gunther said, what was it? Talking about Orton's, being a failure and this and that. And then he sort of took it away. And that was a really good match too. That was a really fun match too. But that one was more expected. I was absolutely sure Gunther was going to retain on his first title defense in Berlin when he's from Austria. So that did not have the same excitement as this. Although I was pretty convinced Gunther was going to win. In fact, first, when they announced the King of the Ring tournament, I'm like, Gunther's going to win this. And when they said it's for a shot at the World Heavyweight title or for a shot at the championship, it made more sense that Gunther would win that championship than Orton having to fight Cody before he had maybe turned on it. Anyways, but still, it came out of nowhere, sort of, but just like the RKO, it came out of nowhere. But it really impressed. It was like a dream match. And the ending, too. Like, the fact that Gunther won, but Orton wasn't really pinned. His shoulders were off the ground. Some said that was sort of like a flub or that was an error, but I think that was a work. I think that was intentional to set up the next match. Long-term booking, long-term planning. Also, Orton didn't actually really lose, even though Gunther became King of the Ring. I thought this was a great setup, and yes, I enjoyed their second match as well too. But this was the better of the two. Number 7, Sami Zayn defending the Intercontinental Championship against Chad Gable on the April 15th Raw from Montreal. Okay, I'll admit, first off, I have a perspective bias on this one because I was actually at this show. I was there live in the Bell Center, and it was incredible live. It was an exciting match. Sami Zayn's entrance, well, Jey Uso exiting and then Sami coming in through the building. The place was going wild. But I'm aware of the fact that if I'm judging top matches of the year, that was an amazing experience for me, but is it the same on TV? So the first thing I did, I actually just looked to make sure that it was on other critics, other people's top 10 lists. And yeah, I saw it on a few of them. So, or top 20 lists, whatever. So I was like, okay, fine. At least I'm not just, it's not just the fact that I was there. But then I went and watched the match back from the TV perspective, and wow, it was kind of like a clinic. I mean, these are 2 excellent workers. Sami Zayn selling from underneath. Chad Gable, there's the German suplexes, haluva kick. They both look real and believable. And there was the whole story. There was a solid story leading into this. Chad had trained Sami before WrestleMania, and also it had the Chad Gable heel turn, which, I mean, I think before, just logically thinking of wrestling, knowing that match was on the card, I was thinking there might be a heel turn. And I was so worried it wasn't going to happen during the match and cost Sami the title. So I was elated when Sami won, but it happened after. And wow, that was what you didn't see on TV is that it went on for a bit. The crowd was really booing Gable. He goes thank you. And we just keep booing him. Eventually he leaves. Sami gets up some strength and cuts a promo on him on the mic. Obviously, when you're off TV, you got to send the audience home happy. And they definitely did. But yeah, they had other encounters. They had one one in Saudi Arabia. They had one at Clash at the Castle, I believe. Yeah. But yeah, and those were 2 good matches, but those were one was a triple threat with Bronson Reed, and the other one focused was Sami versus Chad, but it was also more about Otis. In fact, both of those had a lot to do with Otis. And honestly, it's a big shame that they only picked up the Gable versus Otis at the end of the year. They should have gone into it right away. That would have been such a hot feud. after Sami. So of the 3 matches, this is the one that had, I think, the most emotion. And this is the one that was, I guess, technically the best because they were both baby faces at the start. And it definitely makes my list. And I'm glad that I was there in person for one of the top matches of 2024. Number 6, Randy Orton and Kevin Owens versus Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga of the Bloodline at Backlash. You got to have a street fight on the list. And the funny thing is, this was not billed as a street fight. In fact, it didn't start as one. And obviously this was the plan, but Nick Aldis comes out at the very beginning because they just keep fighting each other outside the ring, what have you. They're not going to follow the normal tag team rules. He said, fine, lâchez-vous, because it's an audience in France. Amazing crowd. He just tells them to have a street fight. And the crowd goes berserk. They're fighting in the crowd. At one point, there's like 2 camera angles. One where I think KO and one of the, I think Solo, and then there's Randy and Tama Tonga. And it's sort of like going to different areas of the crowd. At one point, both angles have like Randy Orton. We don't know where Kevin is. I don't know. It was wild. It was chaotic. They had table spots, kendo sticks. At one point, Kevin Owens set up a bunch of chairs and ended up putting Tama Tonga through it. And Owens and Orton looked very strong throughout. Solo and Tama Tonga made a bit of a comeback. Ultimately, though, they won because it was the debut of Tango Loa, who was not there before. And to Paul Heyman's shock, this is when Solo had first started, attacked Jimmy Uso, brought in Tama Tonga, but Paul Heyman was still thinking this was all under Roman's direction, which it wasn't. But anyways, there was a lot of storyline, but it was just a incredibly raucous way, amazingly raucous way, and memorable way to start what became an incredibly raucous show. Number 5, Io Sky defending the WWE Women's Championship against the Women's Royal Rumble winner Bayley at WrestleMania 40 Night 2. This match had a really solid emotional story. Bayley getting kicked out of Damage Control, the group she founded, and taking on her former friend and protege, Io Sky. Also, it had the in-ring work. These are 2 of the best workers on the roster. Incredible in-ring work. The match really told a story from start to finish. Bayley, I mean, she really cemented her victory against a really tough opponent. And but I almost forgot about this match. The reason why is because that amazing story was happening even in the development. It was on the same night that The Rock returned that they actually had the Damage Control breakup. So it was overshadowed by that and the whole We Want Cody thing. And the positioning of this match on the card, it was the second to last match on night 2, which is a great slot, but it was right before the Bloodline Rules match, the Cody finishing the story thing. So it got kind of hampered by that, and it got kind of lost in the shuffle, but it really shouldn't be. It was an incredible match, and 2 top stars doing their best. Now, I was not that impressed with Bayley's title reign after this, but that does not take away from her victory and from this match. It's definitely one to watch. Number 4, Liv Morgan defending the Women's World Championship against former champion Rhea Ripley at SummerSlam. This was one of the hottest stories of the summer, maybe of the year. It did, of course, continue beyond this. We had there's the Women's War Games, but before that, there was the Bad Blood match that brought Raquel Rodriguez in. The end was a bit of a botch. Dominic Mysterio was a big part of that. He was a big part in the build-up. But honestly, first of all, I was sure Rhea was going to win. I thought Dom might turn heel, and he managed to turn heel when he was already a hated heel. So that was amazing in this match. Throughout most of the match, Rhea was incredibly believable, selling injuries. Even, the spot where she decides to ram her own, I think, shoulder back into the announce table to pop it back into position. Excellent physical storytelling, excellent in-ring work. The facial expressions, the selling, Liv Morgan as the perfect heel. The build-up to this was incredible build-up, and to start off the night with this major swerve of Liv retaining by cheating from Dom, but Dom not pretending it's an accident, actually siding with Liv. It set up the later Judgment Day story with Balor and Priest later in the night when Priest was fighting Gunther. That was not as good a match, and there was a little botch near the end. But this one, wow. This is probably, I think, obviously they have their finally having a one-on-one rematch on the Raw debut on Netflix. I think Rhea might win that one, but I think this feud will mainly be remembered for this match and what a match it was. Number 3, the Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns, defending the undisputed WWE Universal Championship against the Men's Royal Rumble winner, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, in a Bloodline Rules match at WrestleMania 40, Night 2. Now, this is most likely the most watched WWE match of the year, and it's probably the number 1 match on a lot of people's lists. And I understand that completely. I mean, this was a masterpiece of overbooking. It was incredible. The cameos, the run-ins, the Rock, John Cena. We had obviously Solo. We had both Usos. We had The Undertaker. I know everyone thought it was going to be Stone Cold, but believe me, when I heard that gong, I'm like, okay, this is cool. Like, it was a great match, and it was the storytelling was actually, I mean, this is the match that the fans made happen. It was scheduled, and it almost was unscheduled and pushed off, but the fans made it scheduled again, and everyone got the result that they wanted. Well, except for like hardcore Roman Reigns fans, you hear a lot of them online. And now Roman Reigns is a good guy, and I think people want him to maybe win it back or just, be the Tribal Chief. Anyways, this culminated like a 2-year-long story. Cody Rhodes finished the story after 2 years, 2 years and a bit, and it even brought in the Seth Rollins element. Like, ultimately, it was Roman not being able to ignore or stop himself from hitting Rollins with the chair. In fact, to the point where it cost him the title. So Rollins actually was Cody Rhodes' shield. It brought in so many plot points. It was great. The match itself, until all the frills started happening, was okay. It was good, but it was kind of like their match last year. It was a definitely top tier match, but it was a WrestleMania caliber match. But the match itself at the beginning, again, a bit of a slow build, was not exactly the best, which is why I didn't put it at number 1. It wasn't like excellent throughout, but it was still very good. And then it got incredible, excellent. It's definitely the most memorable match of the year. I'm glad I saw it. I'm glad it happened. But for me, it is my number 3. Number 2, the Ring General Gunther defending the Intercontinental Championship against Sami Zayn, WrestleMania 40, Night 1. Okay, my personal opinion definitely weighs heavily on this list, and I am a huge Sami Zayn fan. So this match, this list was just my pick for the match that affected me the most, that got me the most in the year, it would be this one. But this is not a list for just that. It's a list for the overall best matches, best stories, whatever. But this is definitely my number 2. The story build was short in terms of Sami versus Gunther. There was a really cool build with the whole thing with Gable and the Rocky thing training Sami. I thought that was really cool. But the real story build is the fact that Sami Zayn sort of felt listless and he didn't really have anything going on. He had main evented WrestleMania the year before. I thought maybe he was going to be in the World Heavyweight title picture, like a triple threat with like Seth and maybe Drew, since Punk was out. I wasn't really sure, but the fact that he finally found his way and he finally, like, it looked like Gable was going to win that tournament at the end because of what Bronson Reed did, but no, he got into the tournament and he was going to fight Gunther, and the story is he went from being listless to dethroning the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion in history. And the match, even in the match, like, there was the whole hope spot coming up, and Sami is amazing at fighting from underneath, doing the sort of like the fighting the bigger guy, the hero. And Gunther is great at being the tough, like, a-hole. He's not like a cheater or anything, but he's a heel in that he's like just such a prick sometimes. And he's taunting Sami's wife. And at one point I was like, okay, fine, that's it. Okay, here's the hope spot. Oh, here's the hope. And he's going to pin him. No, he doesn't pin him. And there was false finishes. And I got to the point where I was like, okay, no, maybe, but no, he's not going to win this one. He's not. This was a replacement match for Gunther versus Brock Lesnar that they're not going to switch and then Brain Buster, a move that I don't think anyone had done in WWE for a while. The hula kick, 1, 2, 3. Do you believe in miracles? What Michael Cole said. Well, now I do. And that was an incredible match. Honestly, after I watched that match, I was like, what a great WrestleMania Night 1. I was like, oh yeah, there's something with The Rock coming up. But like, that was a good match too. But no, this was like my WrestleMania match for night one. Actually, this was my top match of WrestleMania and my second top match of the year. Before I get to my number one pick, here are some honorable mentions. Okay, some matches definitely were good, but didn't make the list. There was the triple threat for the Intercontinental title, Braun Breaker defending against Sheamus and Ludwig Kaiser at Survivor Series. A really intense, well-fought match. In fact, anything with Braun Breaker is usually really intense and good. When he lost the Intercontinental title to Jey Uso, that was fantastic. Some of the other Sami Zayn, Chad Gable matches, the two other ones, definitely should get honorable mentions. The Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre with CM Punk coming in at the end and after the match was over and giving Damian Priest the cash-in attempt. That definitely should be mentioned. The men's War Games match should be mentioned. Cody Rhodes versus AJ Styles, the first one at Backlash. The second one was okay, but not really up to the standards here, but still good. The first one definitely was. LA Knight beating Logan Paul for the United States Championship. The match was good, but that was just so cathartic to see LA Knight finally win a championship and to see Logan Paul lose, which I guess what you want. You want to see the people you don't like losing. Also, I kind of like the match where the Motor City Machine Guns out of nowhere won the WWE Tag Team Championships. And I like the tag team ladder match at WrestleMania where, Theory and Waller, their reign wasn't really much. They won one set of belts, but then Awesome Truth winning the other. That was great. Also, the first time we actually saw the Wyatt Six fight, that was great. These are all wonderful. The finals of the Queen of the Ring. I mean, it was pretty rough at the end, but Lyra Valkyria versus Nia Jax, another one. There were a lot of great matches this year. Maybe I missed some in this. And I just said my number two would be my emotional number one, but there was one match that I think overall was better. Number one, CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre in Hell in a Cell at Bad Blood. If you saw my best of WWE 2024, everything but the matches video, McIntyre and Punk got feud of the year. And a lot of that was for the build when it wasn't even getting physical. And then there was their trilogy of matches. There was the match with Seth Rollins as the referee. There was the pretty good bullet match. It was clever. It was good, but this one absolutely takes the cake. I mean, Hell in the Cell, yeah, when it started off, it was a really cool concept. We have the Foley diving off the top of the cell, all that stuff, Shawn Michaels. But that was the real concept of Hell in the Cell is it's the kind of match that should be the final way to settle things when you can't settle things any other way. And for a number of years, a few decades even, it was basically, they even had a premium live event that was called Hell in the Cell, where it was just sort of like a gimmick match. And no, this is why you do Hell in the Cell. They didn't go to the top of the cake. They came in, there was amazing storytelling throughout. The story was great already, but there was the bit with the toolbox, and Punk got bloody, but then Drew got really bloody with that toolbox shot. Obviously, that was not a gimmick toolbox. He even had to clean the blood up at one point because he looked too bloody. But it was WWE doesn't usually do blood, but they do it when it matters. And this is something where it really made sense. And the icing on the cake is when you thought Drew was pulling out thumbtacks, but no, they were the beads from the bracelet, the friendship bracelet, that had somehow become a centerpiece of this feud. And this, you could feel the real emotion on both sides. I kind of think these guys maybe really don't like each other. Maybe it's just, they're obviously working together, but I think there definitely is some tension, like there is with Seth Rollins and Punk. I think it's brilliant the fact that they're using that McIntyre is so believable and Punk is so believable as well too, and they just went to town in this match. It was mesmerizing how good it was. And it ended. The fact is they kept selling after the match was up. Punk won, but he almost passed out, needed help. He did kind of pass out. He needed medical help on the aisleway. And then he gets up and then he's whatever. It was a perfect excuse to get him off TV for a few months to miss the Saudi show and then to come back as a surprise at War Games. But this match, I think, is definitely match of the year. It might even be WWE match of the decade. This was incredible, and it happened this year. And these were my top 10 WWE matches of 2024. Did you agree with my list? Is there anything I missed? Quite possibly there is. I mean, there were a lot of great matches this year. Let me know in the comments. Follow at Silo Voice Wrestling on Facebook and Instagram, at Silo Wrestling on X, and me at Jason C. McLean on X and Instagram. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications. I'll be back with my, first piece of regular content of the year. My assorted thoughts on tomorrow night, Friday Night SmackDown. That'll be on Saturday. And then I got a special review with a special guest of, it's not just going to be assorted thoughts, it's going to be a bit different because it's going to be a bit different. Raw on Netflix, the Raw debut on Netflix. It should be up on Tuesday. Once again, Happy New Year, and keep following Silo Voice Wrestling. For Silo Voice Studios in Montreal, I'm Jason C. McLean.